Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Dwaine Hartman, and this is the webinar. I want to talk to you today about who are you? Who are you, the real you? Because there's so many times that I'm seeing now people asking, who am I? Can you read me? Who am I? These sorts of things that are going on, and I really want to share a webinar on the fact of who you are. A lot of us have came here from other places, and what I mean by that is off-world. There was something that went on back in the 1940s that where humanity needed to evolve, or the question was brought up by beings from higher levels about our natural evolution, because we're supposed to evolve. We're supposed to evolve into our own God consciousness, and that was being inhibited. And so when it was brought up to the powers that were at the time, nothing was done. Nothing was changed. The information wasn't given to us as to who we are. So a lot of us decided to come in to this plane of existence to help change the vibration. What I'm noticing and what I work with a lot is people that are on that brink, on that edge. They want to know who they are. They're asking people, who am I? Read me. Tell me who I am. And it's because we're moving into a time now where we're to come out. We're to come out as the gods and the goddesses that we are. These are frames of reference that we can understand, gods and goddesses. But we're supposed to come into our full power and evolve into this state. But not everyone knows how to do that. So there needs to be models around that model it and come into that power so the rest can come into their power. And this is what's taking place at this time. This is why you're asking that question. Who am I? What do you see in me? What is it in me? Well, as you know, most of you know, I work with empowering people, bringing them back into the God and the goddess that they are, and having them step into that expression. Why am I doing that? Because at this point in time in human evolution, it is important for us to step into that state so that we can now take the overall manifestation that's going on in the world of things and bring it back into something that is ours, that is yours and mine and everyone else's, not a external reality, an overshadowed reality of control, but to step out into our own sovereignty. Many of you have come to this plane of existence, to planet Earth at this time, to do that, to help others step into that. This is what your prime thing is to help others. Is to help others come into this place within you, within them, so that they can bring that knowingness forward. We've all had this knowingness. We've all had it since we were children, and it was programmed out of us. It was taught to us that we shouldn't go there. We put away a great aspect of ourselves in the back of our psyche and wouldn't let it forward because it wasn't socially acceptable. We're coming to the point in time where socially acceptable is what I would call downright dangerous, because we know more, we vibrate higher in our natural state. We make the right choices in our natural state. And we look after things like Mother Earth in our natural state. This is important for all of us at this time to start to come into this energy. This energy that we really don't have much of a choice because we're evolving anyway. It's happening anyway. But we also going to need people in the forefront that are making a stand. That are making a stand of sovereignty and saying that I am a sovereign being and so is everyone else. Everyone else is, and I stand for that sovereignty in you and in me, and we're going to bring it forward, this sovereignty. This all comes together. We were learning about manifestation, the secret, the whatever else, alchemy, and this is all coming into a nice package, that it's all the same thing. That it's all of us manifesting our own reality that is going to bring us out of this. Because when we manifest our own reality, we step into our own power within, we move things forward. And I want you to know you move it forward as a singularity as much as you do as a group. So we need to get into it ourselves and step into our own sovereignty. Look in the mirror and see the God and the goddess within you and rise it up and be that magic outside of what you've been taught and told. Most of you have come in this way that are listening to a show like this and know that there's more. There's more to you, or you wouldn't be here. This, I'm just reading here, someone's not getting sound. Does everybody have sound? I have to play the old, oh, I hear fine, thanks. So, what we're doing is there is a evolution and a revolution in consciousness at this point. And this evolution in consciousness is about everyone coming into their God and their goddess within, stepping into that aspect of themselves. I don't know if you've seen yet, if some of you have, the painting that Violetta did. And that painting that Violetta did is about the goddess coming out in her. But that aspect coming out, that aspect of her, people see that painting. It's on my wall if you haven't seen it, on my Facebook wall. And that painting, and for some people, they look in the eyes of that painting and they start coming out. They start feeling that energy because she painted it with intention that would happen. We need to work in whatever way to support human beings into coming into their sovereign state. In the beginning of this show, there was a little excerpt from The Bringers of the Dawn. And that little excerpt, that little audio excerpt, was something that touched me deeply when I heard it. Because when I heard it, it was rang so true to me as to why I'm here and why many of you are here. We're here because we came here to raise the vibration of the planet and to raise everyone else's vibration, to bring it to a higher vibration. When we do that, we're actually connected to our own mission. So, who are you? What the fact that you would be drawn to listen to something like this means you're one of them that came along to raise the vibration of the planet too. who are you, the real you? The real you is not of this place. And most of us have felt that we're not part of this. And that's because we're not. It's not because we're trying to fit in. Stop. Stop trying to fit in. You're probably not from here. I'm not from here. There's a lot of people that I meet every day in sessions that aren't from here either. And really, when we get into that place inside of us where we agree in ourselves that we're not from here, and we relax and we realize that we came here with a mission to do something different, we start feeling very, very content. Once we get rid of that critic that's inside of our head and we let it go, we start to feel the love from source energy and the support that we're supposed to move this along, this evolutionary experience that's happening to humanity. And yes, you're part of humanity, and yet you're not at the same time. It's okay to feel different. It's okay to feel that you're not from here. And it's okay to stretch that a little bit and begin to understand that you came here to make a big shift and change in the world. Now, many people want to know, like I was saying, want to know who they are. Well, I'll tell you what. You got to start knowing who you are and stop asking the question. Because if you know who you are, then you're going to have a good, stable place within yourself to go from. Now, we have a critic inside that likes to criticize us and tell us that we're not much of a muchness. But if you set that aside or get it worked on and get it out of there, you're going to come to this feeling inside of your greatness and your grandeur. And it's okay to hold on to that greatness and grandeur and move forward and make that your stability. Because in the world of things that I have noticed in my life starting out, I can only give advice from my experience, is that there was a time I didn't know who I was either. I had no idea who I was. And I kept asking people in all kinds of different ways who I was. And I kept getting all these different answers of who I was. And see, nobody really knew because nobody does. Only you know. And it only really starts to resonate out of you when you know. And yes, allow yourself to come into some grandeur with that as to who you are. And grandeur, I mean, you can be a great energy that came into this planet to do some wonderful work with people, and allow yourself to feel that in yourself. And that is what you're going to start to display. And this is what humanity needs if you take a look at it. If you take a look at it, we and other people have been hypnotized into not being grand at all, not being much of anything. There was a hypnosis that went on for a long time in our world, still going on yet today, that hypnotizes people into believing that they're not much. And we need to get past that. We need to set that whole, remember I was saying about this alternate reality? We need to take that alternate reality and set it aside and come back into our truth. And when we come back into our truth about who we are, and we look through and we see that in other people as well, it's not just for us. It's to look into other people through their eyes and see that grandness within them. You know, I get to work with people all the time. And the main thing that I do is look through and see the God and the goddess within them and hold that while I'm working with them. And the next thing you know, it starts coming out. And when it starts coming out, they step into their own power and they can do their own work from then on. They don't need me anymore. I'm just a step in their own evolution to becoming their own god and goddess within. So, and that's a rewarding and wonderful thing to do, is to be able to see the grandness in them. Now, also, we need to be able to see that grandness within ourselves. And that is what's taking us to another level. That's what's empowering right now so many things for humanity to become connected to the earth again, to the whole universe, and to right doings. What's common sense and what is right to do in the world, you know? So we have a lot of things going on right now. We have a stand taking place in front of a pipeline right now. People that are standing for the whole of humanity. It's not just for them and this pipeline crossing a sacred land. This is for all of us, and for the pureness of water, and a stand for the human spirit. And support wherever you can in us standing in our sovereignty, because this sovereignty isn't just something that they're speaking of. This is sovereignty for all of us standing in our sovereignty and saying, no, you know what? I create my own reality and I don't like what's going on here. That we can make this stand. We can say, you know what? Life is worth standing for. Truth is worth standing for. Your sovereignty and my sovereignty is worth standing for. And we're going to make a big difference. Each and every one of us has this ability. Each and every one of us have abilities that we don't even haven't even begun to tap into. And a lot of us are walking around wanting somebody else to do something for us when we have the abilities. In my work, that's what I do, is I want desperately to show you what your abilities are. And what I do with my work is elicit your abilities out of you so that you can see them for yourself. And a lot of times people have abilities that they're walking around with they don't even know they have. Why? Because it seems not so great compared to this ability this person has over here. But if we don't cultivate our own abilities, then we don't get to grow into the next ones. So it's kind of like, when I was a kid, and at Christmas time, if I didn't appreciate my gift, well, guess what? I wasn't going to get one, again, because I smashed my truck, my toy truck. Well, I'm not going to get another one until I learn to appreciate. Well, the same thing happens with us. We need to spend time appreciating our own gifts at this time, because there is a lot of them. There's so many empaths that come to me and don't realize that their empathic gift is a psychic ability. It's a huge psychic ability, and that they learn that they can take in, but they don't know that they can also get clear of all of the streams coming in, get clear of that, and actually start to project, because you can project as well as you can take in. And just that alone, can you imagine sitting in front of somebody and going into a different state yourself? Going into a different state, and when you go into that different state yourself, that other people experience it too? What could you start to do? That's the gift of an empath. And there are so many other gifts out there that people have that they think is just a no thing because they've done it all their life. And it doesn't seem like this grandiose thing. We have to get off the fact that it's grandiose out there, that we could shift dimensions and hardly even know it. that there is this really, it's so normal to be able to shift dimensions and shift things and utilize our gifts that we don't even realize that it's that simple, because they sold us on the difficulty of it. We think it has to be really difficult, and who am I to be able to do something like that? Well, you're everything, and you can do wonderful things and amazing things if you give yourself the opportunity to do it. So what I spend most of my time doing in the sessions is eliciting the person's gift that they had their whole life, and they all of a sudden take another look at it and they go, wow, I can do this. Yeah, you can. And this is pretty amazing. And yes, it is really amazing. And let's start shifting and changing things with it. So who are you? You came in knowing more. You came in knowing the truth, and you were convinced of another thing, and you were taught to put a mask on, taught to be socially acceptable. And what is socially acceptable? Socially acceptable is whatever they feed you with the blinders on, this little box, and you shall not get out of that box unless you reach this point of evolution that we're experiencing now, and we blow the sides off the box. We step out into something else. And yes, some of the people call you crazy because you're not in the box. You see, that's a word, a trigger word they use when you step out of the box is, oh, you're crazy. Well, you're not crazy. You see more, you experience more, you feel more, you are more. That's who you are. You're more. You have never been born, nor will you ever die. You are eternal. It's the perspective that you have. Are you the I, or are you that looks through the eye? If you're that looks through the eye, now you're getting somewhere. Now you're an idea. Now you're an essence. Now you're beyond what fire can burn, water can drown, or weapons can cleave. Now you're beyond that. And that aspect of you lives on and on and on into eternity. That aspect of you is very powerful. That aspect of you, and in a lot of people right in here and now, has wanted to come to the surface. You can feel it. There's a part of you that wants to rise to the surface and be that magic. And it is magical. It is magical. Because I'll tell you, anything outside of the box appears like magic. When we start moving in these areas and healing from these areas and transforming from these areas, it appears very much like magic to box livers, because they've never seen anything but the box. But when you start expanding consciousness, expanding your own consciousness outside the box, it appears like absolute magic. Well, I suppose it's time to take some questions here in the chat room. And I'll take a look. Lots of people here, yeah. Marcy. Lots of people. Now, I'm just going to switch over. Just give me a second. There we go. And just going to look through here. Let's see if there's any questions. Laura's asking, if you're born on Earth, then you are from Earth, having a strong connection with other civilization. Is that a different thing? Could be. I'm working with, and ever since my abduction, I have been working with people that are to come out into this aspect, the God aspect, the goddess aspect of themselves. And that's been my mission since I was in my 20s, is to help people come out into their own power. So to be able to help everyone else do the same thing. Now, I know that if you were born on Earth, then you are from Earth. No. In 1947, a decision was made to have starseeds come in here and seed the consciousness on planet Earth to raise the vibration. Otherwise, it would have never raised at all. Terry's asking, Dwaine, what do you do when you get negative responses or attracted by those that you came to help? How do you handle it? Well, sometimes what happens, Terry, is that people don't want to hear that they create their own reality. I'm not knowing exactly in what specific way that you're speaking of this, Terry, but sometimes what we have is people don't want the responsibility that they create their own reality. I didn't create that for myself. But if we take a look at victimization and the victim mentality, there is no cure while we're in victim mentality. And so a lot of times they don't want to give up the victimization, because then that victimization means if they give it up, then they're moving into their own power. They're moving into their own, that at some way they have a bit of responsibility, whether it's vibrationally that they brought this in or whatever it is, but it's this ownership aspect that they're usually reacting to. I don't know if that's it. The best way to handle that or to deal with that is to have them understand. There's different ways that you can approach responsibility in the fact that they're creating their own reality to assist them. There's different ways to bridge that, and sometimes saying it off to the side, so how did you do that to yourself? Or sometimes I will say that to people. So how do you do that to yourself? Teach me how you do that to yourself, so that you can take a holiday and I can do that for you, so I can elicit it. And I make it a fun thing. And so they're kind of laughing, but yet they're taking responsibility. But then afterwards, they feel really good because now they're empowered. And now they can do something about it, right? I mean, when we're in that state of victimization, even though there are, offenders and whatever, but when we bring that power back into ourselves that, I did this to me, and if I did this to me, then I can change this, then we bring the power back to the person, and the person can change the vibratory frequency that they have been in that's been attracting that, or whatever, right? Lots of them here. Laura says, I was never in the box. I was always weird. Good. Weird is the new normal. Because that's weird. Weird is freedom. You see, if you take a look at people talk about children that are being rebellious. Rebellious. They're not listening to the, and this and that. Children that are rebellious are rebelling against having the God aspect of them shoved in a box. You see, that's what they're rebelling against. And a lot of times, people will share with me with that about the children being rebellious, and I go, good. And I go like this to the kids. Do it. Don't go in the box. Don't go into that. And I'm talking about the box, like they actually take the God within and shove it to the side, and then we have to be this programmed aspect. And we're much more magical than that. Way more magical than that. And so that's what I'm talking about with this rebellion aspect. It's children are being rebellious because they're being shoved in a box. Now we're watching this in society right now. Everyone's coming out the box. Everyone's coming out the box and stepping out and stepping into their sovereignty. I mean, a lot more is happening in the world of things than's even being televised about humanity stepping into their power at this point. And I think it's a wonderful, delightful, good thing. What is your view on twin flames? Well, I believe yes, there's twin flames. And I also believe that we have to watch ourselves and we have to watch others, because so is the desire to have a twin flame that people will accidentally go into what I call spiritual stalking, where they actually stalk another and they'll mark it and they'll say, that's my twin flame over there. I'm not listening to anyone else. That's my twin flame and I'm going for it. Well, they never flip it and think about the perspective of the person that's over there. Now, what I've noticed with twin flames is the true twin flames vibrate at the same frequency. That one is over here and one is over here. As this one learns something, this one learns something. And it's not opposites attract at all with twin flames. It's like attracts like. So that is a totally different paradigm than what we've been used to as far as relationship, because the powers that were really had us on a trip here where we were actually attracting opposites so that they could feed off that energy of the, you know what I mean? It's supposed to be like attracts like. If you take a look at it, your cells, your atoms, all attract towards health and likeness. It's a natural process to attract likeness. Okay? But we had a whole long time where people were attracting the opposite because they were told opposites attract. And that's baloney. Like attracts like. And so when you're thinking about twin flame, you're both in the same vibration. Now, a lot of people will go, well, they'll look over and they'll say, that's my twin flame. And they'll ask me that question. Do you think they're my twin flame? And I'll ask them one question. I'll say, do they know that you're a twin flame to them? And they'll go, no. And I go, Then how do you know that they're the twin flame? Have you asked them? Is it the same resonance? Do they feel the same about it towards you? And if they do, then I start looking at it a little differently. Maybe it is. Okay? But if one is just chasing or stalking the other, no. I don't think so. Put yourself in the position. The best way to find out is put yourself in the position and ask them, And if there isn't any resonance and they go this way, I don't believe in chasing people chasing people for the idea of twin flames, because I don't think that is. You would be in the same vibration. You would be learning the same things. You would value the same things. Like attracts like. Okay? And so the ultimate twin flame is like attracts like, and it all, as soon as you meet, it's very hard to go apart because it is the same energy. It's the same resonance. It's the fit. It's the absolute fit, and both sides know it. Both sides know it. To me, that's what twin flame is. Susanna is asking how you know you are telepathic, and can that too be used anything useful? Well, telepathic, being telepathic, I mean, we all are. This is the thing, is we've been told for so many thousands of years we're not, that's some special gift that only someone over there has, that we don't recognize it in ourselves. When we start working with telepathic abilities, when we start understanding what they are, and we start, instead of looking at how am I going to learn this, what am I, start asking yourself this question, and this really works, is where is that already prevalent in my life? Where have I experienced this before? We start asking questions like that, you're going to start seeing it more and more. So to be telepathic, it's very quite simple. When they're teaching, from what I hear, when they're teaching how to remote view and all that, people always say they didn't realize how simple it was, how easy it was. Because we all have that ability. We're just expecting it to be something grandiose and out there somewhere that, we can't do. But the truth is, we can. And we are doing it. And a lot of times we are doing it, we can read information. How many times have you said things to somebody like, I have a feeling this is happening with you, and they go, no, it's not, right? But in the truth, if they were to say yes, and you wait and you let it unfold later on, and you see that, yeah, that exactly was what it was, is a lot of people will say, no, this isn't happening to me or whatever, but yet it is. So whether it's they're scared to admit that you are sharing this information or what it is, but a lot of times you are accurate. Now I'm going to go in. Okay, Occupant is asking, how do we manifest from the heart centers rather than from the mind? And a lot of people, like he has mentioned here, a lot of people manifest from the mind, but then when we manifest from the mind, we manifest in a dualistic nature, right? Okay, so think about it this way. Visually and auditorily, we're more left brain, okay? Feeling, we're right brain. And feeling is, again, where a lot of times we have to understand that a lot's been shoved away from us in training us not to have an imagination and training us to be over in the left. There's a reason for that, because we're more manageable on the left side when we don't have intuition. But as you move over more into the right, you drop more into your heart. Okay? So once you start moving into creativity, more and more, you start moving into your heart. So the question he has is, how do you manifest more from heart centers? It's when you fall in love with the idea. You let love be more prominent in what it is that you're doing. And a lot of times your manifestations will change as well. I've heard people who will say, I want to manifest this or that or the other thing, and I'm going to have this big house, I'm going to have this and this and this and this and this. Or more so, let's get back to twin flames and relationships. I want this kind of girl or this kind of guy, and there's this whole list of all of this stuff of this person. It has to, all these things have to check off, and then that's going to be the person that I'm going to be with. And then I'll ask them, the person that you're going to be with, how are they going to feel? Right? And they'll say, well, I guess they're going to feel like this. What's it going to feel like to be with the one that you want to be with? Well, they're going to feel like this. And I says, now with that feeling of this. Do you care about the list? And they go, no. Really, what people want is different visually, auditorily, than it is from their heart, right? Other people that say that they want this big and big, all this stuff and all this stuff, and you come back into the heart, what is it you really want? Well, what I really would like is, a log cabin out in nature, in the mountains somewhere, and it's peaceful. It's all paid for, and it's just, I can just be. So manifestations have a tendency to change as we move into our heart as well. So focus on what it is that you really would love, right? Not just an idea or what everybody else is saying. And I know you well enough, occupant, it's not what everybody else is saying. It's just something about moving into the heart centers. Sometimes, and I've had to work with this with clients, sometimes it's hard for them to move into their heart. And it's hard to move into their heart because there's something that went on in their life that they had to shut off from their heart to survive. Okay? So too much pain of some sort or whatever. Or it was taught to them. Sometimes we have taught to them as far as in the family unit. That's the way it was, so nobody went into their heart. So, the child didn't learn that. Or the child had to disassociate from their heart to learn to live with the family. So sometimes we need to do some work on that to drop into the heart. So I hope that helped. Andrea mentioned here, you answered my question already about the natives bringing forth the sovereign movement. Yes. Funny when I removed myself into the higher self perspective to do the healing during this last night's attacks I saw. Yeah. This is going on different levels. This isn't just what we're seeing physically on the 3D. This is something bigger that's happening here, coming from higher levels, and we're seeing it all over. I'm happy to say and afraid at the same time. Not afraid. I'm not scared of it. It's just that there's a lot of stuff coming out real fast right now. A lot of things being opened up. Right? It's the apocalypse. Now, apocalypse does not mean the end. The apocalypse means the unveiling. If you look at the original Greek translation of apocalypse, apocalypse means the unveiling. Something was hidden from humanity, and it's the unveiling. And this is what we're seeing, is the unveiling at this point. Another aspect that we see all the time is the snake eating its own tail. What's happened is it's coming to the point where shift is going to hit the fan. And I love it because it's time. It's time humanity knows who they are and steps into their own power and their own sovereignty. And it's time. And that's why I came here, was to see this happen and to help as many people as I can get there. Sylvia's asking, is there something or things to do to remove deep integrated beliefs? Well, I find that what works is allowing that aspect of yourself, that sovereign being, to do it. So, like people ask me, what's your success rate? And I say, I don't have one. My clients do. And because it's the clients, it's the people that come and see me, that I elicit from them, and I get their God within, their goddess within, to do the work. Okay? This is truly where it's at. Now, this God, goddess that's within you can do that work. Okay? I found that with belief systems, they also upgrade. So belief systems upgrade as you present them with a better idea. When I was a little boy, I remember that I was walking in the water. And I didn't know that they had pulled out a post out of the water where the pier was. I didn't know that. And as I was walking along in the water, I fell down that damn hole. And I went down. Well, you know, when I was going down in that hole, I didn't think about what I did to get there. I climbed out of that hole. And I raised myself out of that water and I moved on. Society has this tendency to, instead of getting out of the situation, raise vibration, get out of the situation and move on, they have a tendency, while they're down in the hole, of trying to figure out why they're in the hole. Who cares? Get out of the hole. We have a whole humanity right now that's been sucked down into a hole, into a deep hole, as far as knowing who they are, what their sovereign right is, all of these things. We're in a time now where we need to raise out of that. And this is why I'm saying this, Sylvie, is because sometimes all we need to do is upgrade beliefs. All we need to do is say, here's a better belief, and start living that belief as an I am statement. And you start shifting the beliefs that are back there. Yes, you can go after those beliefs, but sometimes it takes you in a lifetime or two to go through all of the beliefs that you had in one lifetime, and you've already made up some more in another lifetime. So it's more about, I look at it as the soul likes to record time and repeat time. And it likes to keep you in a vibrational frequency, right, that it feels secure with. Now, what if it feels secure with not so high vibrational frequencies? Well, what do we do then? Well, we have to realize that also in the world of things, our soul got programmed. It got programmed into a lower frequency vibration, but your unbounded spirit didn't. And that unbounded spirit, that little 5-year-old boy, that little 5-year-old girl that's just excited about life and that can create things and can do things, when you step into that unbounded spirit, you have a tendency to wash these beliefs very fast because we're in high vibration. What's the only thing when you're in your high vibration and you're in your childlike 5-year-old state that could bring you out? One thing. One thing. Well, maybe two. Fear and guilt. And people, when you're in that high vibrational state, notice what happens. People will come around and start trying to feed you fear and guilt to get you back into what? The recording and repeating of soul of the same old. And you'll feel yourself drop from this high vibrational 5-year-old that can create anything, and all of a sudden, boom, that's right, there's guilt here. Right? And you go back into what? The soul, which records time and repeats time. And so sometimes we need to work with that to detach completely and set up a new vibration for ourselves and maintain that childlike, unbounded spirit state. Now, the wind, sure. You guys pick some of the longest names. The wind. I'm just going to say the wind. I'm sure you're the only the wind here. I feel like I climbed a huge mountain to ask a monk a big question. Once there, he looked through my eyes and said that what you are doing is actually it. The climber is Pablo. Dwaine. It's a great feeling to be able to have people see who they are and without judgment, and see who they truly are, and have them step into that experience and know that they were there all along. What happens is that they meet God in that moment. They meet themselves. Something came up here this week, and I want to share with you, is that what are we doing? What are we doing with this healing and all this work that we're doing and raising vibration? We're healing God. A lot of people don't want to think about the fact that God could be wounded, or God could be anything else, or this source energy could be anything but perfect all the time. But take a look around you. We are the living examples, the only physical living examples of source here on this planet. And we're wounded, and we've been led down the garden path, and we've been shown different things besides our own power. And when we step into ourselves, and we see that it's us all along, that we are that power, we're healing God. You know, it's just one of those moments right now for me, because the wind brought something to my attention about what happened to him. And like I say, it's a touching moment for me. Sherman's asking about dropping belief systems. It has to do a lot with the critic. And yes, the unproductive aspect of the soul and the critic. They're notorious for feeding you all kinds of lies all the time. It's an internal system that we developed. We didn't have it as children. We developed it over time to keep our vibration down, believe it or not, so that we didn't stick out in front of, above the crowd, basically, and that we were not the we didn't want to appear different. And so a lot of times what happens is that we use different things in the beginning in slight amounts to bring our vibration down so that we didn't appear different than others. And then that got carried away. It just got carried the hell away. And it started to really expand in people. And now we have these critics that's not allowing them to go into their God consciousness because, I mean, you would look different. You would appear different. What would the world think of you? And all of this stuff, and it's all the critic. And these belief systems really are simply just the critic looking for other ways to keep one down. When people get rid of their critics, believe me, folks, when they get rid of their critics and they come back into their loving voice, it's like turning the light on inside. All of a sudden, whoosh, it's a different game. Because that critic has been criticizing and looking for ways to keep your vibration down the whole time. And when you let go of the critic and you get rid of the critic, you come into your own being. You come into your own loving connection to source energy. And I can't explain it. I can't explain it to you because I can only talk from my own experience. But look on my pages, look on YouTube, and see what people are saying about it. And I mean, I only started recording that. I've worked with thousands of people who have gotten rid of their critics. And it is, I'm not kidding you, it is the thing to do for yourself psychologically to come into balance with yourself. And then once in balance and you're not attacked by that all the time, you're free and free to be you. Laura is asking about do I use tarot cards? No, I don't. I work with strictly the person and eliciting their God state out of them, basically. So I work specifically with the person on bringing that aspect out of them that has been hidden, their gifts, their abilities, their God self, and coming back into the sovereignty. So I don't use tarot cards at all. I have some good friends that do, and some of them are really good with it, and really, I'm going to say, very aware that you create your own reality and ensure that they're not they're working with you on that. And so there are different ways of doing it, and that, and like I say, my view on that is, if the person is aligned with you and knowing that you create your own reality and are using them in that fashion, you can always feel the difference if it's not. I'm just reading the chat. Laura says that's why entities show our future as apocalypse. They're afraid of it. Yeah, they are scared to death of it because it's the unveiling. It doesn't mean what we were told it means. Go look for it yourself, the meaning of apocalypse, and you're going to see. It's originally a Greek, came from the Greek word. I can't pronounce it right now, but you can look it up. And if Violetta was here, she would tell you what that word means. Kelly's asking, is removing the critic the same as removing alien implants? Well, the thing about alien, or thing about the critic is the critic was a learned program, which is a little different than removing implants, because implants are basically attachments on other levels to you that have been placed on you. This is something that was voluntarily, involuntary, or voluntarily done by you. And this is why I get you to state things to the critic. Once the God within you, the goddess within you, removes the critic for you, is that we go through statements and restating the law of free will and your freedoms and these sorts of things. So we do a vernacular. I don't know how to say that, but we do some. I get you to repeat some things to the critic, and you understand what they mean when you're doing that, which literally separates you out of it. Now that means that the difference between implants is implants have been placed on you, whereas this is something that you started out creating. It's a program inside rather than than an attach. So I hope that answers your question. I'm ready to get unfucked for good. Good. Yes. Come get your critic removed. You know. Apocalypse. Yes, that's it. Thank you. Well, you know, Omar, you're talking about the brain itself as an alien in all its senses. In a sense, you know, there's the top part of the brain here, okay? And when I'm working with people, the top part of the brain is looping all the time, looping in fear loops, right? So from one fear loop to another fear loop to a panic to this to that, you know, somebody tells you, oh, you got something, you know, you get a diagnosis, something's wrong with you, and people go into spins in their mind, and they're creating all sorts of things in their head about what's going to happen. You know, the people are playing with their manifestation system, and they don't realize it. This is an alien aspect to what it's like when you take a deep breath in and you slowly exhale and you drop into another part of your mind and you shut that off. So in a sense, Omar, you're actually right. It's an alien aspect to us, to who we truly are as our sovereign God, goddesses that we are. It's different. And it's alien in a sense. Not, you know, it didn't come in on a ship and fly in your head. No, but it's not the natural aspect, right? Okay, Laura's asking if I ever dream or dream about the future. Yeah, I do, you know. And that's manifesting. I see myself in the future coming into higher levels of freedom and magic. You know what I mean? Lighter, freer. I see myself doing that, and then it happens, right? Sometimes, like you're mentioning here, you'll have a dream. You dream about a movie, and then you'll see it later, and that it might be pointless or something you were saying here, but really, I mean, it's telling you to pay attention in that to that in that movie possibly. Yeah, it's like you're watching it. It's showing you, a part of you is showing you that really you're writing this before it happens, right? I think. Lulu Bio also put the real word in if you want to take a look at apocalypse. See, I'm not Greek. I can't bend my tongue the right way. But it means the unveiling, to reveal the covered. Truth to the light. Yes, Andrea, apocalypse is a good thing. It is like Pandora's box. It's of course it's an apocalyptic event for how they mean it for them, because they never wanted this unveiled of who you are, what you are. You know, and they can't put the damn thing back in the box anymore. I mean, they created and invented the internet so that they could kind of keep a track on all of us. And then we all started talking and joining up and spreading the word. And now it's too far to even stop, even if they cut the internet off. Because we all start, there's too many of us that are knowing. I remember back in 2011, we had already hit critical mass with the amount of people that were spiritually awakened. Now, you're never going to hear those statistics because they don't want you to know that. But we already hit critical mass and we're way over. And this is why we're starting to see the snowball effect, is that more and more people in consciousness are waking up to what it is. Now, you're going to have a lot of people that don't know what to do. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to wander around and not knowing what the hell to do because they're going to come popped out and waking up. And we need people. We need people out there that are going to do some things, right? Be able to help other people come out of this and awaken to this. So if you want to, you can take, I've got a couple of different courses running now where you could take the Hartman approach hypnotherapy course, which is a course about dehypnotizing people and bringing them back into their own power. So it's a little different than what you've done before or heard before. And also the trance alchemy workshops are going around. The easiest way to get me to come to your city is to become an organizer. Organize one, bring together 30 people. We stay there for 7 days and teach you everything that you need to know about the first part of this to get it going. Or you can also do a 2-day event where you get me to come in and I'll do a 2-day workshop with people and have them come into their own power. And we need 60 people to do that. Okay, so 30 people for the training, the 7-day training, 30 people, and 60 people for the 2-day. (777) is asking, what is the easiest way a person can remember who they are? Put your hand on your heart and love that little one that you used to be, the one that knew. Okay? Put your hand on your heart, go back there and just imagine that little one there who knew. Put your hand on your heart and say, I'll listen to you. I believe you. And when you do that, you're going to start getting information and more information. Make friends with that little one that came in already knowing. Because be that person that little one needed, which was someone to listen. And start listening. And that's probably the quickest and fastest way for you to come into understanding. See, it's not a guru out there. It's nobody out there. They have their idea and their rendition, but it's you that you need to hear from. It's you need to worship. It's you that you need to praise. It's you that you need to bring out from the prison, out into the light. That greater part of you that's inside of you, that's itching to come out, especially at these times. So that's the truth of it. Laura's asking about the financial collapse. They already have things in place, and I'm not saying the people that are going to collapse their end of it, but they've already got things in place to step in at the time of this financial collapse, as they call it. Remember, apocalypse is more for them than it is for us. And the same thing with the financial collapse. Their fear of the financial collapse is far greater than anything else. And so, yes, their collapse will happen, but there's already stuff in place to ensure that humanity carries on in the fashion that they should, you know? Well, I see that I've already gone 13 minutes over, so it's time to go. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Blessings to you. And until next time, have a delightful time. Oh, yeah. And if you need a session, there's 10% off. Just enter the code MAGIC for you, and you get 10% off. You people, folks that are in America, remember that I'm in Canadian dollars, so American money, you can buy, you know, I think you get another 25% off just because you're spending American money. So take care, everyone. Blessings, love and light, and we'll talk again soon.